Unexpected? Auburn wide receiver jokes with Alabama QB Jalen Milroe ahead of Iron Bowl. Did you see it? Subscribe to the channel to receive more news. The Iron Bowl, this eternal college football classic in Alabama, carries not only the rivalry on the field, but also the stories and provocations that ignite the flame before the matchup. In 2023, with Alabama and Auburn at such different points in the season, tensions could not be higher, especially after the bold statement by Auburn wide receiver Perry Thompson, who took to social media to taunt Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. What makes this rivalry so special is the passion and collective memory of the fans. Since their first meeting in 1893, this matchup has transcended the sport, becoming a cultural event for fans in the state of Alabama. Now, with Kalen DeBoer, the Crimson Tide are looking to maintain their recent dominance, having won the last 4 meetings, and regain confidence after a bitter loss to Oklahoma. Thompson's comparison between Peyton Thorne and Jalen Milroe brings up an interesting point about numbers. Thorne and Milroe's stats are similar, but of course they don't tell the whole story. Milroe, with his 615 rushing yards and an impressive 17 touchdowns on the ground, adds a dimension to Alabama's offense that is impossible to ignore. His ability to be dangerous with both his arm and his legs is one of the Crimson Tide's most lethal weapons this season. Thompson, on the other hand, brings with him an intriguing background. A former Alabama commit, his move to Auburn in 2023 after years of being considered one of the gems of the 2024 class was not only a personal decision but also a symbolic move. Now, his words are adding fuel to a rivalry that was already electrifying by nature. For Kalen DeBoer and his team, such taunts are just part of the game. DeBoer has made it his mission to keep Alabama competitive on a national level, and despite the recent loss, the team remains firmly in the college football playoff conversation. The road has not been easy, but the Crimson Tide has shown resilience and depth, especially with stars like Milroe stepping up. On the Auburn side, a thrilling 4-overtime win over Texas A&M has given the team a new lease on life, and players like Thompson clearly believe they can capitalize against an Alabama that, while talented, has had its ups and downs. But here's the thing for Alabama fans to remember: rivalries aren't won with social media posts. They are decided on the field, where every yard gained and every tackle made resonates as a testament to the strength of a program. Milroe, with his mobility and ability to create explosive plays, has already shown that he can carry Alabama in decisive moments. And if there is one thing that DeBoer and his team know how to do, it is to turn provocations into motivation to dominate the Iron Bowl once again. This year's Iron Bowl promises to be another unforgettable battle, with the weight of history, pride and rivalry on every snap. For the Crimson Tide, it is about more than just beating Auburn. What did you think? At the end, I want to see your comments. Alabama's loss to Oklahoma was an unexpected blow in an already up-and-down season. For Crimson Tide quarterback Jalen Milroe, the game was particularly disastrous, not only because of his poor performance, but also because of the criticism that rained down on him after a controversial play and questions about his NFL draft stock. Milroe entered the field with high expectations, but found an Oklahoma defense ready to exploit his flaws. 3 interceptions thrown, none for touchdowns, and a pass completion rate below 50% painted a grim picture of his performance. Still, what really caught the eye were not just the technical errors, but a desperate tackle attempt that many considered unfair. After throwing an interception that was returned for a touchdown, Milroe, with no immediate options to stop the defender, attempted a slide tackle, sparking outrage among both opposing and Alabama fans. The criticism was scathing and direct on social media, comparing Milroe's move to a red card in football. The backlash underscores something larger: the nearly unbearable pressure of leading a program like Alabama through a coaching transition. Kalen DeBoer, replacing Nick Saban, is a tall order. And as DeBoer tries to establish his brand, games like this one against Oklahoma serve as stark reminders that success in Tuscaloosa is not optional, but mandatory. The loss not only tarnished the Crimson Tide's confidence, but also jeopardized their playoff run, something that seemed a given until recently. It's a blow to a program accustomed to dominating. For Milroe, the repercussions could be even deeper. Once considered a promising NFL draft prospect, he now faces intense scrutiny, with his ability to perform in big moments in doubt. The Iron Bowl against Auburn, always a thrilling spectacle, represents an opportunity for redemption. For DeBoer, it's a chance to show that even amidst the turmoil, he can maintain the standard of excellence that Alabama demands. For Milroe, it's a chance to silence the critics, demonstrate leadership, and remind everyone why he was chosen to lead this team. A loss to Auburn would not only jeopardize Alabama's playoff chances, but it would also heighten doubts about DeBoer's ability to lead the team. A convincing win could be the tonic needed to restore confidence and keep alive the hope of a positive end to the season. For Jalen Milroe and Kalen DeBoer, the Iron Bowl will be more than a game. It will be a test of character and an opportunity to redefine the narrative. Let's move on. Is there a chance next game? For a team that was once synonymous with consistency and dominance under Nick Saban, the transition to Kalen DeBoer has revealed vulnerabilities that had previously been masked by hard-fought victories. At the center of this narrative is Jalen Milroe, a quarterback with undeniable talents but whose limitations expose a larger problem: an over-reliance on his skills in a system that seems incapable of adapting. The 24-3 loss to an Oklahoma team that is only fighting for bowl eligibility was shocking for several reasons. It was Alabama's lowest scoring performance in 2 decades and the first time since 2011 that the team had failed to score a touchdown. This offensive performance wasn't just a failure of execution, it was a complete collapse. And the offense, which had already shown signs of weakness in previous losses to Tennessee and Vanderbilt, simply collapsed against a well-prepared Sooners defense. Jalen Milroe has clear strengths. His ability to run and create plays with his legs makes him one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in college football. But that reliance on his athleticism proved fatal against a run defense like Oklahoma's, which entered the game giving up just 2.5 yards per carry. Sooners head coach and defensive specialist Brent Venables devised a game plan that completely neutralized Milroe's greatest weapon. From there, Alabama's offense was at a loss. What's troubling is not just Milroe's poor performance, but the coaching staff's inability to adjust. Kalen DeBoer and offensive coordinator Nick Sheridan stuck with a game plan that seemed to ignore the quarterback's limitations against a disciplined, focused defense. When Milroe lost his fastball, his ability to run, the offense had no other tricks up its sleeve. It was a night of misreads on run-pass options, RPOs, misplays on play progressions and devastating turnovers, including 3 interceptions. Even more frustrating was the near-complete abandonment of the traditional running game. Justice Haynes, a highly talented running back, had just 3 carries in the game, while he and Jam Miller combined for just 15 attempts. When an offense relies on a single player, in this case, Milroe, and that player has a bad night, the result is what we saw in Norman, a sinking ship with no viable alternatives. The coaching staff has also been criticized for not exploring other options at quarterback. While Milroe is clearly the team's leader, the insistence on keeping him in the game even when he was clearly struggling raised questions about DeBoer and Sheridan's faith in Ty Simpson or other backup quarterbacks. Taking Milroe out for a drive could have given the offense a different perspective and perhaps reduced the pressure on him. The reluctance to try something new reflected a troubling rigidity in the coaching staff's approach. This loss is also symbolic of something larger. Alabama is no longer the untouchable behemoth it was during the Saban era. An 8-3 record after 11 games is the program's worst performance in nearly 2 decades. While changes in leadership always bring challenges, the Crimson Tide do not appear to have found a new identity under DeBoer. Hopes for an SEC title or a berth in the college football playoff are all but extinguished, and fans accustomed to excellence are now faced with a different reality. For DeBoer, it's a chance to show he can bounce back and adjust his strategies amid adversity. For Milroe, it's a time to prove he can learn from his mistakes and lead effectively. But one thing is certain, Without significant changes in both the game plan and overall approach, Alabama will continue to struggle to maintain the standard that made it a powerhouse. The fans are waiting. What about basketball? The team is no longer relying exclusively on one player to shine, and the evolution of Sears' role is a direct reflection of that. Mark Sears, a key player last season, now faces a different challenge, adapting to a dynamic where the depth and talent of the roster offer more offensive options. Averaging 21.5 points per game last year, his ability to be the primary scorer was essential. But the reality this season is different. As Nate Oates pointed out, the attention he draws from opposing defenses is a strategic advantage. He may not score 20 points a night, but his ability to move the ball and create opportunities for teammates will be essential. The most recent example came in the 100-87 win over Illinois in the CM Newton Classic. Sears had a quiet night, scoring 0 points and shooting 0 of 5, but that didn't hurt the team. The depth of talent made the difference. LeBaron Philin and Latrell Wrightsell Jr. each shined, scoring 16 points, while Holloway led the way with 18, proving that Alabama is now more than just a star carrying the team. That kind of depth was a dream last season, when Sears was required to be on the floor nearly all the time, especially with injuries that weakened the roster. Now, with a more balanced group, he doesn't have to carry the load alone. That doesn't mean his impact has diminished. On the contrary, he now plays an even more cerebral role. His ability to read the defense, draw attention, and make smart decisions will be the foundation for the team's success. Nate Oates made it clear that Sears needs to embrace this change. It's not just about scoring, it's about winning games. Some nights, he'll be the facilitator, dishing out assists and moving the opposing defense. Other nights, he can be a scoring threat if the circumstances allow. The important thing is that he continues to play with controlled aggression, knowing when to attack and when to trust his teammates. The psychological challenge for Sears is no small one. Adapting to a less central role, especially after being the star of the game, requires maturity and vision. But it also highlights Alabama's strength under Oates. The coach has not just focused on immediate results, but on building a team that is versatile, unpredictable, and capable of adapting to different adversities. With Kalen DeBoer leading Alabama on another front, in football, the Crimson Tide is expected to continue raising its standards across the board. Success in basketball is another piece of the puzzle in cementing the program as a dominant force. Mark Sears' role this season is a metaphor for what Alabama as a whole is trying to achieve, a balance between individual brilliance and teamwork. When the team plays with that mentality, they are not only competitive, they become a real threat to any opponent. And for fans, that is something to be proud of and celebrate. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.